In Sri Lanka, certain pits contain some of the most valuable gemstones on the planet. Miners risk their lives daily by descending into deep, fragile tunnels that could cave in at any moment. These perilous pits are held up by only logs and leaves, but even these makeshift supports face constant pressure as sand and water seep in, gradually compromising their stability. Samaranayakaj Telakaratna, a veteran miner who has worked in the gemstone trade for nearly half a century, continues this challenging work despite the risks. On any given day, he could be searching for anything from rare blue sapphires to rubies, garnets, or topaz, all hidden beneath Sri Lanka's rich soil. The gemstone industry in Sri Lanka stretches back nearly 2,500 years, and local artisans still rely on traditional methods passed down through generations to refine these valuable stones, which often sell for millions of dollars in global markets. However, the miners who put in grueling hours underground often see little financial reward for their efforts. Many make barely enough to survive, especially in light of Sri Lanka's recent economic crisis, the worst in the country's history. This financial hardship has left many miners struggling to make ends meet despite working in an industry worth millions. To understand this contrast and learn more about the lives of these miners, we travel to Ratnapura, Sri Lanka's gemstone capital, a city whose name fittingly translates to the City of Gems. For Samaranayakaj, life in Ratnapura has always centered around mining. His morning ritual includes preparing betel leaf and tobacco, a stimulant that he and his fellow workers chew on throughout the day to maintain their energy levels during the physically demanding work. The pits he works in are as deep as 40 feet, with even deeper mines reaching below the water table. Nearby rivers frequently seep into these pits, bringing sand, soil, and water, which further weakens the structure of the tunnels. Consequently, miners must constantly run pumps to remove the water and prevent flooding. However, the murky water they pump out is often dumped onto surrounding land, potentially rendering it infertile for farming, a dilemma that impacts local communities who rely on the land for agriculture. The rainy season in Sri Lanka brings a heightened level of danger to gemstone mining, as heavy downpours increase flooding inside the pits. When water begins to seep in from surrounding rivers and the water table, it becomes a race against time for miners. The rising water not only fills the tunnels but also destabilizes the earth, making tunnel collapses an ever-present threat. The peril miners face is tragically underscored by incidents like the 2015 mine collapse in Ratnapura, Sri Lanka's gem capital, where 4 miners lost their lives when a tunnel caved in. Such accidents serve as sobering reminders of the high risks miners endure each day. To combat these hazards, miners use basic yet crucial reinforcements. Logs from local rubber trees, abundant in the area, serve as the main support beams within the pit walls and ceilings. However, the process of fortifying a pit is not as simple as placing logs. To prolong the wood's integrity, miners strip off the bark, which tends to trap moisture. Bark left on the wood can accelerate rotting, weakening the support structures over time. In addition to logs, miners gather a local fern known as kikilla. This natural material acts as an extra buffer within the pit structure, adding support to the logs. Despite these efforts, the support structures remain rudimentary and are often pushed to their limits, especially during intense rainfall. Sri Lanka is home to approximately 6,000 active gemstone mines, all privately owned. Each mine, however, is bound by the regulations of the National Gem and Jewelry Authority. This governing body issues licenses that ensure operational legality and enforces guidelines to safeguard miners' welfare and limit environmental impact. Nonetheless, even with formal approval, gemstone mining is a labor-intensive and highly uncertain process. Extracting stones can take over a year, as miners dig carefully to avoid disturbing potential gemstone deposits. Each pit can only yield stones after extensive, methodical work. And even then, there is no guarantee that the mined stones will be of high value, or that they'll find large or precious gems. Working in these gemstone mines offers no promises of wealth for the miners. Some days, workers may discover small, valuable stones that fetch a reasonable price. Other days, they find nothing or uncover stones of lesser quality that hold minimal market value. Today, there are about 11 people crammed in here. The lack of oxygen makes it difficult to breathe, so they use air pumps to ventilate the tunnel through these tubes. Gases like methane are also naturally produced here. Years of experience have taught them to guess the direction of the deposits. Workers pack the gravel into sacks that can weigh up to 45 pounds. They rinse the gravel in a nearby stream to remove mud and sand. However, the majority of the stones are worth nothing. Miners like Samaranayakaj earn a basic salary of about 1,200 rupees per week, roughly $3. In Sri Lanka, this is just enough to buy a gallon of milk. When they discover a precious gem, they must hand it over to mine owners, who sell it to middlemen. Ratnapura, renowned for its abundance of gemstones, owes this to the area's unique geological foundation. The underground rocks here are subjected to intense heat and pressure, altering their chemical and physical structures to form gemstones. Heavy rains, landslides, and rivers also move these deposits downstream, which is why miners search for stones in the Kalu Ganga. To do this, they build scaffolding and dive to dig them up, or they use pole-mounted blades, called mammoties, which can severely damage riverbeds. Consequently, river mining is heavily regulated by Sri Lanka's Gem Authority. However, experts note that underground pits are also environmentally harmful. Clearing land for mining involves removing native vegetation, and some pits remain open after mining, posing safety hazards. The gem industry employs nearly 100,000 Sri Lankans, and gems are sold at wholesale markets like the one in Ratnapura. Chamunda Athuralayagami's workshop, established in 2002, cuts gems with a machine called a Hanapurawa. Smaller pieces are later shaped and polished into individual stones. A 1-carat blue sapphire from Sri Lanka, depending on color, cut, clarity, and weight, can sell for $450 to $1,600. Ratnapura also yielded the world's largest star sapphire, the Star of Adam, valued at $300 million. Despite global demand, traditional methods remain dominant. In Ratnapura workshops, artisans still use centuries-old techniques like heating gems over 2,000-degree coals, which has been practiced for over 1,500 years to enhance color and clarity. Sri Lanka's gem mining legacy dates back to 540 BC, with jewels adorning royal thrones. Historical records show that Sri Lankan kings traded gems internationally. Even Marco Polo wrote of these treasures in his journals. Yet today, the industry faces risks due to a political and economic crisis. Massive protests last year saw President Gotabaya Rajapaksa ousted amid rising inflation, impacting miners directly. Samaranayakaj's wife, Payasilia Halage, shared that their family struggles to make ends meet, and even with decades of experience, Samaranayakaj wishes for a better future for his only child, hoping they don't endure the same hardships. For miners like Samaranayakaj, each day is a test of endurance and patience. Despite the dangers and the physically taxing labor, miners persist in the hope of finding valuable gemstones, which can transform their lives and bring prosperity to their families. However, these finds are rare, and when a precious stone is discovered, it's often turned over to mine owners, who sell it to middlemen at significant profits. Miners, on the other hand, are left with modest wages, sometimes as low as a few dollars per day. Yet the allure of potential discovery keeps this centuries-old industry alive in Ratnapura, Sri Lanka's gem heartland.